Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video we'll be doing an Assassination Rogue PvE guide, covering the raids as well as the Mythics. Assassination, compared to the other two specs, hasn't really changed too much going into Shadowlands, so this video should be pretty quick. However, I'll give you as much information as I can in order to get you started and playing. We'll talk about what the rotation is going to be like, some of the talent changes and what's new, what talents you should probably play for single target, as well as AoE, some of the stats you might want to run, and essences you want to use, and Azerite traits you want to look out for. But of course, all this information can also be gotten from sims. So I'll mention where you can sim in order to figure out more minute details about your character in the moment. Anyway, let's get into this quick Assassination guide. We'll first start off Assassination on pure single target, and then we'll talk about Assassination and how it changes in AoE. In the single target guide, I'll talk about everything that is new, but then also give you some of the best talents to run, or at least something I would recommend. First of all, stats and gearing. It's always good to sim your character, and using raid bots to find out what are the best stats. Every time you get a new upgrade of gear to find out where your stats should go forward, or which sockets you should run. I think simming your character is very helpful just to find out how your character should be updated. Stats are a little bit different in this expansion, especially in the pre-patch, so maybe you were stacking haste crit last expansion and now versatility might be a better choice for you. So sim your character, but the general stats for Assassination is going to be on single target versatility with a little bit of critical strike, but that's going to be the general assumption. For your trinkets, I think you would probably do well with Illustrious Golden Plumage and the Spyglass. I think those are really good two trinkets for single target. There are a couple different options, so sim your character to find out which trinkets in your bags work for you currently. When it comes to Azerite Gear, the best Azerite trait right now is Heart of Darkness. It's really good for all three specs of rogues. Like, it scales really well because secondary stats and getting a lot of them is huge, and you don't need corruptions to work with it anymore. I think triple Heart of Darkness is what you essentially want to aim for as your best in slot, but some of the other traits you can stack or get bits off, especially in single target, is going to be double dose. When Mutilate applies lethal poison from both daggers, it poisons the enemy for additional damage. This gives you a little bit of oomph for single target. Another trait that I think you should always have a one-off, whether you are in dungeons or in single target, and this one I like, is Shrouded Suffocation. Garrote cast from stealth generates extra common points and will deal a bit more damage over time, which will make Garrote as a damage and ability far stronger, and will give you a little bit easier opener because you get so many common points off of this ability from stealth. I would say at least have one of these in your gear, whether you're going to be doing Mythic pluses or raiding, as it just fits really well into the current rogue right now. When it comes to essences, I think it's a good idea to sim yourself and find out what is best for your character. But if you don't want to do that, I simmed my character with my gear, and for me right now, Blood of the Enemy is looking really good. For major. For minor, I am running Crucible of Flame, I'm running rank 3 Breath of the Dying, and I'm running rank 3 Lucid Dreams. Some of the other essences that are good in the minor is Conflict and Strife for extra versatility. And something else that could be decent in your major slot would be something like Condensed Life Force if you have that at rank 3, or even something like Crucible of Flame at rank 3. It actually ends up being pretty good for pure single target. But sim your character to find out what's going to be the best for you. Next we got talents, and we got some new talents for Assassination with this pre-patch. First of all, Blindside is a little different with the ability of Ambush returning to rogues. Now you might actually be able to use ambushes when your Mutilate gets procs. Mutilate has a 20% chance to make a next ambush free, usable without stealth. Chance increased to 40% if the target is under 35% health. This is actually a really good talent if you are going to be spending a lot of time in the execute phase for bosses. So something like Mythic Nazoth, I totally could see that happen. So if you're going to be going for a lot of executes and bosses, Blindside is actually a really solid option. We have a couple more changes to a few more talents, like Venom Rush is a little bit stronger. It now gives you 8 energy instead of 5. Sim this one to see if it works for you. And instead of Toxic Blade, because that becomes a passive for rogues later in Shadowlands, we get Alacrity with extra haste. And that actually makes haste as a stat a little bit less good for us since we can just get it passively. But I was going to cover most of the changes that have happened to Rogue. The current setup right now with Elaborate Planning, Subterfuge, Vigor, Cheat Death, Prey on the Weak, Alacrity, and Poison Bomb is what I currently use for single target for Assassination. Of course, you can sim all your stats, and maybe because of your gear, maybe because of your essences, certain talents might be better for you. So be sure to sim your character if you want more detailed examples, but if you want to just copy my build, I think you'll be okay with that. The general playstyle for Assassination is going to be like it always has been. Maintain your bleeds, and now you'll try to weave Slice and Dice into your rotation. I will try to establish Slice and Dice as early as possible, and quite a lot of your damage for Assassination is going to be auto attacks. So maintaining Slice and Dice is the most important, maintaining your bleeds is the second most important, and then using Envenoms on the common points that you have extra when you don't need to refresh your dots is what you'll be doing. The playstyle retains mostly the same, and you're trying to combine as much damage as you can during your Vendetta windows. So for boss fights, just try to make sure every 2 minutes that you have a target that's going to survive long enough that you can stick a Vendetta on and do as much damage as humanly possible. And that's the general gist of how I would play Assassination within single target. Now for AoE. The stats for your AoE version of Rogue are going to be not super different. Critical Strike is going to become a lot better since that will let you generate more common points. So it will end up being some like crit verse mastery haste, so it doesn't really change too much. So for the most part, you can have one set of gear for both situations. Your trinkets don't usually change that much either. There are a couple decent trinkets for AoE, like the jar from Neolotha, but Assassination still has a lot of impact damage into Vendetta single target, so even in Mythic Pluses, there will be certain mobs that will have a lot of health, and you can just sink a lot of single target damage into those. Combining a trinket with a Vendetta will let you do massive damage altogether, so it's really not a bad idea to even go for single target trinkets, like versatility increases. For your traits as Assassination, I would go for as many Echoing Blades as you can. This is going to be the best AoE option for you, letting Phantom Knives shoot out smaller knives on your enemies. Combines really well with Blood of the Enemy for even more burst damage. So with Blood of the Enemy, you'll just be spamming Phantom Knives over and over and over, doing ridiculous damage, which is target cap, but still you'll do a ton. Another trait you want to triple stack as much of as you can is Shrouded Suffocation. Garrote cast from stealth generates extra common points, which will let you open up on, let's say, 3 enemies in the opener with triple Garrote. If you could triple Garrote a bunch of enemies, that's huge. So being able to open up with as many Garrotes as possible from stealth in a trash bag will give you so much dot damage, it's not even funny. That followed together with the mass spam of Phantom Knives with Blood of the Enemy is huge opener, where you will definitely need to have Trickster trade available for your tank so you don't rip the aggro. This is going to be probably the best setup for traits, but sim your character if you don't have your best traits available to see what traits in your current gear might be better for AoE situations. Just try to make sure to sim it with Dungeon Slice and the raid bots. Your essences in Mythic Pluses don't really change too much. I would still play Blood of the Enemy because of its synergy with Echoing Blades. For your miners, I would probably play something like Lucid Dream, and if you're going to be doing a lot of AoE in dungeons, you could swap to Conflict and Strife. And if you're going to be doing a lot of big trash packs, then you might as well go Purification Protocol. But if you're going to be doing a dungeon with a lot of single target bosses, even a Mythic Plus like Workshop or something is very single target focused, I would still stay with stuff like Crucible of Flame and maybe even Breath of the Dying. But of course, sim your character if you want to find out the ultimate best setup, and it all really comes down to what kind of dungeon you run, which essences are going to be best for you. Now, your rotation in Mythic Pluses will be the same as raids, except you'll be using Phantom Knives a lot more often to generate more common points and do more damage to more enemies. But there is a particular opening you can go for as Assassination that'll be huge in terms of the damage increase you can go for. Opening up on 3 enemies with Garrote will establish massive dot on everyone, getting Slices up and running, Vendetta Blood of the Enemy, and then just spamming Phantom Knives will do huge damage in the burst opener. I mean, I don't really do mean spamming Phantom Knives, because the Echoing Blades are just going to make even more blades come out. Afterwards, make sure every enemy is dotted up as many as you can, and then proceed to your base rotation, just changing up your Mutilate for a Phantom Knives instead. And this will allow you some mad damage as Assassination within Mythic Plus content. It'll be huge openers, even though target capped, but it'll still give you quite a bit of a punch. And that's going to be my quick guide for Assassination for pre-patch. It's not really too many changes happening for this spec, so I feel like this guide was much easier to make than the other two, but also Assassination is fairly easy to play, or at least I would say it's easier than the other 2 specs. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Assassination, even though it doesn't look like the strongest rogue spec in general, it is still a lot of fun, and I think it still can hold its own if you have the gear and the patience and the stats in order to supplement for the fun playstyle. Assassination still has an awesome playstyle, and it will fit in most metas for your Mythic Pluses. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Assassination in Mythic Pluses in pre-patch, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.